ball is out, said the linesman. Goal to Liverpool. And the police are on the pitch to tell the referee to stop the proceedings because there is danger here that the crowd is going to encroach upon the pitch because of overcrowding at the back of the goal, and the referee is taking the players off the field. So this FA Cup semi-final has been interrupted after 6 minutes because of crowd problems here. Capacity of Hillsborough 54,101, and it would appear that too many of them are on that terrace behind Bruce Grobbelaar's goal, and Ray Lewis, the referee, is doing the sensible thing in taking the players away off the pitch until the South Yorkshire Constabulary sort out the problem. 6 minutes of the match gone, no goals. There's the Graham Kelly of the FA, the Secretary of the FA, formerly the Secretary of the Football League, here to keep an eye on proceedings. This is very unfortunate.
I think what happened there, George, behind the goals, the crowd looked as if they were pushing forward and they were getting crushed near the front. And I think the police opened the gates to relieve, just to release them through and relieve the pressure on the people in front. So I don't know they shouldn't be overcrowded, because if the tickets were distributed and allocated properly, they shouldn't be overcrowding like this, should they?
Well, that's absolutely true, and in this day and age they do really make extra certain that tickets only go where they're supposed to go, but it's quite obvious there that some of those fans have been injured in the crush behind the goal. Of course the players want to get on with it, but they're being taken from the field of play. The referee has stopped the game, and it won't resume until the problems behind that goal have been sorted out. Incredible scenes, as you can see. And still the crowd sways. Of course, it's a very dangerous situation.
I tell you, they're not out of trouble there by any means, because the police are trying to get the crowd at the front to push back towards the back there, but they're not really doing so, and they're keeping the pressure very much on the crowd at front. I wouldn't like to be in that crowd, that's for sure, at the front of that ground.
This situation, of course, fraught with danger. When the crowds are corralled these days in football stadia, and if there is any pressure on from the crowd behind, there simply is nowhere for those at the front to go. And of course, tempers possibly becoming frayed in there, but surely the safety of the crowd is of the utmost importance. And if there was pressure building up, well, the police did the right thing in opening the gates to let them out, and equally the referee has done the right thing in taking the players off the pitch. If you've just joined us, this is Hillsborough. The FA Cup semi-final between Nottingham Forest and Liverpool has been held up because of a problem with the crowd, what appears to be overcrowding, but as John Giles so rightly points out, there should not be overcrowding in a situation like this, an all-ticket match. The allocation of tickets for that terrace should be within the limits that the terrace can hold, but certainly there appear to be many, many more people in there that it can safely accommodate.
What I can't understand, George, is why they don't open the exits behind the crowd and let the crowd at the back stream out, because the pressure is still coming down on the people at the front, and it shouldn't be really, because if everybody moves to the back or stays at the back or can get out from the back, there's crowds now or people getting up into the stand at the back to try and release the pressure, which is quite dangerous in itself. But there's a lot of pressure up front there. You find there'll be a lot of kids do go to the front to get a good view of the match, and they'd be in serious trouble at the front there. But why they don't open the exits, I don't know, at the back and let the crowd get out.
I have to say, I think it's going to be some time before this football match proceeds. It would appear, and again only judging it from this distance, from our perch on top of the grandstand, it would appear that mercifully there have been no serious injuries, because there's no evidence of any ambulance activity in there. It's all police activity, but they're trying to sort out what is a major crowd control problem. There are spectators lying on the pitch in some distress, but as I say, it does not appear from this distance, although even as I speak there's one unfortunate lad being wheeled away.
I tell you, George, we've still got to get them from the front, and there could be people injured, badly injured at the front there, because there's a lot of panic going on, and people are really trying to stream over the top and over the sides into the fence on the other enclosure. But again, the simplest thing to do would be to open the exits at the back of where the people have come in. and let them get out for a little while, and then they can bring them back in if needs be, or else keep them out there, because there's people definitely going to be injured there, and they're panicking a little bit now.
Well, it certainly seems that something has gone very seriously wrong in that terrace. The fans, of course, are strictly segregated. Cheers around the ground are for the intervention of the police for that particular individual who came from the other end of the ground. The fans are strictly segregated in matches such as this, in stadia such as Hillsborough, and so there is no real threat of any football violence in there, because they're all fans of the one team. In this case, that's the Liverpool end, and the Forest fans are up on the other cop. But there was a point made before the match that there were fewer tickets allocated to Liverpool for this semi-final than to Nottingham Forest. The Forest fans are at the other end in relative comfort on the cop, while Liverpool supporters are being crushed in their corral at the other end.
Well, it's most unusual because they are very careful nowadays, the allocation of tickets and the ground capacity, and they really do give plenty of room when you go to the matches nowadays. The only thing I can think of is whether there was some tickets, fraudulent tickets, George, who more people have got in than should, because there's no way there should be that many people in that little enclosure right behind the goals. There's usually plenty of room nowadays. They limit the crowd capacity much less than they used to be years ago.
Well, it seems now, as we look at pictures of what's going on at the front, that fans are in fact being ushered out at the back. Well, there are ambulance men in action now. Unfortunate victims of the crush at the front of the Liverpool area. You're watching pictures live from Hillsborough in Sheffield. Well, the FA Cup semi-final between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest has been held up now for some 6 minutes. The game stopped after 6 minutes of play because there was a danger that the crowd was going to encroach on the pitch. They had been released from the pen in which they were behind the goal because of severe overcrowding, what appeared to be severe overcrowding. And now there are fans, as you can see, on the pitch and in some distress.
I think they're bound to have some injuries there, because usually what happens when the kids come into the pitch, they usually get to the front, and the older people let them get to the front to get a good view, and they'll be the ones that will have taken the most pressure. But I think they have opened the gates at the back, and about time too, to let the people out at the back and release the pressure from the front. I certainly wouldn't like anybody belonging to me to be in that crush. Kids in the front there. You can see they're still panicking to get out. They're climbing over. They're not supposed to be able to climb over those things.
Well, obviously there's not going to be any football here for quite some time. Police extricating fans from the back, some not so badly shaken, others in need of attention. And there will be serious questions asked about this afterwards. But that was a situation that should never have developed. Football crowds tend to sway from back to front, but there tends to be room to allow that version of the wave. The Anfield Cop's a very famous example of that, but they don't tend to pile into a heap at the front. But that seems to have happened there, and it also seems that there was some overcrowding.
It's amazing really too when you look at the far end and you see the Forest end. There's plenty of room. You can see gaps in between the people, and that's the way it should be at the Liverpool end, because that is a very small enclosure, and there's certainly far too many people in there. I mean, again, if they do show a shot of the Forest end, you'll see all the gaps, and there's plenty of room.
In fact, John, the word has just come through as to precisely what the problem was. There was a gate broken. One of the exit gates was broken, which enabled fans without tickets to gain access to the terrace, and that is the precise cause of the problem.
That's understandable, I suppose. If they could get in through the back, they'd put the pressure on. They'd be pushing in through the back and pushing the people forward and crushing the people at the front. What a dangerous thing to do.
But always at venues like this, you'll find fans who've travelled more in hope than anything else, trying to get tickets, trying to get in. And then, of course, if one of the gates breaks down, well, then they'll all pile in. Well, obviously, there is something more seriously wrong than was apparent at first.
Well, I'd be very surprised if they don't have serious injuries. And it also explains the point that I was making early on, why they didn't open the exit gate to let the people back out, because obviously if Liverpool fans were trying to get in through the same gate. What a simple recipe for disaster that is.
And of course, at times like this, when all you can think of is getting in to watch your team in action, it's not by any means an excuse, but reason tends to take a back seat in the deliberations.
And of course, the people getting into the ground wouldn't have any problems, George. It's the people that were pushing down towards the front that were getting the big problems, and people right at the front of the ground. And as I said, they're usually kids that get in there, because the smaller ones usually go to the front so as they can just see over the top of the wall and get a good view of the ground. That's what I'd be worried about at the moment now.
Peter Robinson there, the secretary of the Liverpool Football Club, going across to assess the situation. It really is tragic what has happened here, and it's a dreadful shame that it takes the breaking down of a gate. Whether the gate was broken or whether it was broken down maliciously remains to be seen, but that, it appears, was the cause of the problem. A problem that has caused many worried faces around Hillsborough. And still they won't clear a path for the ambulance.
It's going to be a problem as well if and when they do get started, if the game does start again, where they're going to put the people who are already on the pitch. Because I'm sure they won't want to go back into that enclosure then.
And a worried expression on the face of John Smith, the Liverpool chairman. And I don't think anybody need reminding that it was Liverpool's misfortune to be involved in that awful tragedy at the Hazel Stadium in 1985. And that was, of course, a pitch battle between fans which resulted in the collapse of a wall, and well, we all know what happened then. Well, obviously, it's going to be some time before the situation clarifies itself. More members of the South Yorkshire Police go to join those already on duty inside Hillsborough. It scarcely seems relevant at this moment, but to complete the picture, there were 6 minutes of this FA Cup semi-final played. No goals had been scored. It was Liverpool 0, Nottingham Forest 0. When a gate broke, the terrace was overfilled. The police let the crowd out the front, and the game has been called off for the time being. There'll be more news from Hillsborough later, but let's go back to Dublin for now.
Most unfortunate, bizarre situation there at Hillsborough, and we'll keep an eye to what's happening. Had to be postponed somewhat. The crowd literally pushed its way onto the field. You see them there, and the big problem now is getting them back into the stands, or getting them somewhere out of the way to let the players return. Let's rejoin George Hamilton. George.
This is the scene at Hillsborough in Sheffield. A scene that tells its own story. There is no confirmation of what has happened in terms of injuries, but as you can see, treatment is being administered, first aid is being administered to injured fans, and that is really an awful sight. Those fans were on that terrace when a gate behind them broke or was broken. The terrace was overfilled by spectators without tickets. The safety limits were exceeded. There was a crush at the front because those at the front had nowhere to go, penned in by the high security fencing. The police opened the gates to let them out onto the pitch. The match was halted after 6 minutes. The players were taken from the arena. The spectators were led out the front onto the pitch. But when they made their exit, those who could make their exit, and some of them climbed out and some were hauled out onto the top deck of the stand at the back. There were others on the ground, injured below them. That is the scene at Hillsborough. A very serious incident, a very serious crowd control problem has arisen. A second ambulance has arrived to take away more injured spectators. And we'll keep you up to date with what's happening. But these are live pictures from Hillsborough. There's no football here. We'll go back to Dublin for now.
Thank you, George. Looking more serious than when we were there last.
And there are clearly a number of fans seriously injured. John Smith, the Liverpool chairman who witnessed the dreadful scenes at Heysel 4 years